My husband threw me outside during a Chicago blizzard wearing nothing but a thin nightgown. The woman who rescued me owned the company he worked for, and she knew my name before I even spoke. Ebony Carter heard Dante's engine before his headlights hit the house. It was late, again. Her tea sat untouched on the kitchen table. The keys jingled. The front door opened. Dante walked in humming under his breath, brushing snow off his expensive coat. A strong perfume, not hers, followed him into the room. "You awake, Evie?" he asked casually, not even looking at her as he loosened his tie. She stepped forward before he even closed the fridge. "You're late." Dante paused. "Just a second, but enough." "Meetings," he said, grabbing leftovers. "End-of-year stuff." "That's what you said Monday," she replied. "And Friday. And the week before that." He set the food down slowly. "And what's that supposed to mean?" "You smell like someone else." If you've ever smelled a truth before hearing it, you know exactly what hit Ebony. Dante blinked, a flash of panic sparking in his eyes. Then he forced a laugh. Too loud, too bright, too fake. "Perfume rubs off," he said. "You know how people hug." "I know how lies smell." His smile vanished. "You want to explain the hotel charges?" she asked. "Or your paycheck going into a different account for 6 months?" Dante leaned against the counter, jaw tightening. "You checking my accounts now?" "There are accounts." "Were." That one word cut her deeper than the wind outside. "You asked me to quit my job," she whispered. "You said you wanted a wife at home." "And I pay for that home," he fired back. "I pay for everything." Ebony inhaled slowly. Something inside her, something buried, rose to the surface. Then at least respect the woman paying with her life. That stunned him. He stared at her like he'd never seen her before. "You want honesty?" he said, voice dropping.
"Fine."
"You've turned into a miserable." "Say it." She cut in. "Say it to my face." He stepped closer. "You got nothing else going on, Ebony." "Nothing." "And you fill yours with hotel rooms?" she shot back. His expression shifted. Not guilt, not anger, fear. And Ebony felt it instantly. The truth he was hiding was bigger than another woman. "You know what?" he whispered, too calmly. "I'm done with this." He grabbed her arm. "Dante, let go." He didn't. He dragged her through the hallway as she stumbled barefoot behind him. "Dante,
"Stop."
you're hurting me." He slammed open the front door. A freezing blast of air slammed into her body, stealing her breath. "Dante, please, it's freezing." He shoved her outside. Ebony fell hard, knees hitting the icy porch. Dante stared down at her, eyes full of something she didn't recognize anymore. "Go back to your family," he said. "Hope you don't freeze." The door slammed. The lock clicked. Then the deadbolt. The house went dark. Imagine screaming for someone who promised to protect you and realizing they'd rather let you freeze than face their own secrets. Ebony forced herself up, lungs burning. She pounded on the door with numb fists. "Dante, open the door." Nothing. Snow bit into her bare feet. Her nightgown whipped violently in the wind. She stumbled to the window, banging on the glass. "Please." "I can't stay out here." Silence. Her gaze darted across the porch. A stone garden statue, half buried in snow, sat near the steps. Her fingers went numb as she dug it out. She lifted it above her head, arms shaking. One strike, and she could get inside. She pulled back. A sound cracked through the storm. A door opened. Not Dante's. The massive mansion next door lit up, warm golden light spilling across the snow. An elderly woman stepped onto her porch.
Tall.
Elegant. Silver hair perfectly styled. She didn't shiver. She didn't rush. She walked toward Ebony with calm, deliberate steps, her fur coat shifting with every movement. Ebony froze mid-swing. The woman stopped right in front of her. "Ebony Carter, your hands are turning blue." Ebony's breath caught. She hadn't said her name, hadn't introduced herself. How did this woman know? The stranger gently took Ebony's trembling hands, turning them palm up like she was examining evidence. Then she murmured, "He was always sloppy. I should have stepped in sooner." Whatever this woman knew, Ebony felt it wasn't small. The woman removed her fur coat and wrapped it around Ebony's shoulders. "My name is Octavia Holloway," she said. "My son is your husband's boss." Ebony's heart skipped. "And I," Octavia added, "own the entire company your husband works for." The wind roared behind them, but Octavia didn't even blink. "Come inside," she said. "You won't make it out here." Inside the mansion, warmth wrapped around Ebony, a marble fireplace, velvet chairs, soft golden lights. Octavia didn't ask what happened.
She didn't need to. "Sit," she said.
"Warm yourself." Ebony sank into the velvet chair, body still trembling. Octavia walked to a table, picked up a sleek black phone, and dialed. "Prepare the morning meeting," she said calmly, "and bring me the file." She ended the call, stepped closer to Ebony, and lowered her voice. "You're not going back to that house." Ebony didn't argue. Octavia leaned in, voice soft enough to comfort, but sharp enough to cut. "He's hurt women before." A long pause. "But you'll be the one he never forgets." Octavia didn't save Ebony out of mercy. She saved her because she needed a weapon, and Dante had just handed her the perfect one. Ebony didn't know how long she sat there, staring into the fire, trying to steady her breathing. Her body was warm now, but her mind still felt trapped in the freezing wind outside. Octavia watched her in silence, not with sympathy, with assessment. She moved with the stillness of someone who never rushed unless she intended to destroy something. After a long moment, Octavia finally spoke. "Your body is safe here," she said quietly. "But the life you had tonight, that one is gone." The words cut through the room sharper than the blizzard. Ebony swallowed, tightening the fur coat around her shoulders as if it could shield her from the truth. Octavia rose, poured steaming liquid into a porcelain cup, and handed it to her with precise, deliberate movements. "Drink." Ebony did. The warmth spread down her throat, easing a little of the shaking. How did you know my name?" she asked. Octavia's eyebrow lifted slightly, almost amused. "I make it my business to know the people who affect my business." Ebony blinked. "Dante isn't. I mean, he told me that he was critical, valuable." Octavia said smoothly, "My dear, Dante's biggest accomplishment in 2 years was convincing you he mattered." Ebony stared at the fire, the tea trembling in her hands. Then why did he act like he was so important? Because insecure men talk louder than competent ones. Ebony sat quietly, letting that settle. Every word Octavia spoke felt like a scalpel, cold, precise, unflinching. Before she could respond, the front door opened softly. A tall man in a black coat stepped inside, carrying a leather folder under his arm. He bowed his head slightly toward Octavia. "The file, ma'am." Ebony's breath caught. Octavia took it with a gloved hand. "Thank you, Marcus." He nodded once and left us silently as he arrived. Ebony couldn't look away from the folder now sitting on the table between them. "What is that?" she asked, voice barely above a whisper. "Evidence," Octavia said. A chill rippled through Ebony, different from the cold outside. "Evidence of what?" Octavia placed the folder in front of her. "Your husband's truth." Ebony's stomach twisted. I don't know if I want to see it." Octavia studied her for a long moment. "Then why did you pick up that statue outside?" Ebony's breath hitched. "You were prepared to break glass," Octavia continued. "Most people in fear curl inward. You moved toward action." Ebony's eyes filled before she could stop them. "I didn't want to die." "No," Octavia said gently. "You didn't want to stay powerless." Ebony lowered her head, tears falling quietly. Octavia opened the folder.
Pictures. Receipts.
Emails. A hotel envelope. A photo of Dante with his arm around a woman Ebony didn't recognize. Ebony's breath quivered. "Who is she?" "Kiera Summers," Octavia said. 27. Event coordinator. He's been seeing her for a year.
A year?
Ebony whispered. "All those late nights, All those meetings. Octavia slid another paper toward her. This is the lease to her apartment. Paid for by Dante using a secondary account. Ebony's vision blurred. He got her an apartment? He got her two. The second is under a shell company he created because he mistakenly believed I wouldn't notice. Another document. Another blow. Ebony covered her mouth, tears falling faster.
Why?
Why would he? Octavia's voice cut through with cold precision. Because he is a man who cannot survive without lies. It is his only currency. Ebony shook her head. He told me he was providing for us. He wasn't providing, Octavia said. He was stealing. From my company.
From you.
From anyone who made him feel small. Ebony's heart clenched. He told me I had nothing, she whispered. No, Octavia corrected. He needed you to believe you had nothing. Otherwise, you would have seen him clearly. Ebony closed her eyes, tears slipping down her face. I think part of me still loves him, she said. And I hate that I do. Octavia didn't soften, but she didn't harden either. She simply watched Ebony with the stillness of someone who'd seen this pain many times before. Love isn't your weakness, she said quietly. He is. Ebony looked at her, eyes red. I don't know what to do. Yes, you do, Octavia said. Ebony frowned. What do you mean? Octavia leaned forward slightly, her gloved fingers lacing together. Her posture changed, no longer comforting, but strategic, calculating, like a general preparing to discuss a battle plan. A long silence hung between them. Then, in a voice soft enough to sound gentle but sharp enough to feel lethal, she said, Let me destroy him. Ebony flinched, inhaling sharply. Octavia didn't break eye contact. You don't need to ruin him. You only need to tell the truth. I will handle the rest. Ebony stared into the fire. Images flashed. Dante's face at the door, the shove, the deadbolt, the cold swallowing her lungs. I'm scared, she whispered. Of him? Octavia asked. Ebony shook her head slowly. Of who I'll be if I stop protecting him. Octavia nodded once, like she'd expected that answer. Strength doesn't feel like fire, she said. It feels like survival. And survival always comes before victory. Ebony pressed a hand against her chest. I don't feel strong. That's because you don't recognize your strength yet, Octavia said. Tonight, you walked out of death and into truth. That is strength. Ebony's tears finally slowed. What happens now? She asked. Now you sleep, Octavia said simply. My guest room is ready. Ebony shook her head. I don't want to be a burden. You aren't. Octavia's eyes narrowed. But going home would be. Ebony's breath caught.
She didn't argue.
She couldn't. The house she shared with Dante felt like a battlefield she barely escaped alive. Octavia stood.
Come.
You need rest if you're going to think clearly tomorrow. Ebony followed her down an opulent hallway, marble floors glowing softly beneath warm golden lights. But halfway to the guest room, something inside her shifted, small at first, then undeniable. For the first time in years, Ebony felt something other than fear. Something inside her finally exhaled.
A spark.
She stepped into the guest room slowly, as if crossing into a new life. She didn't realize Octavia hadn't followed her inside until she heard the soft whisper behind her, meant for no one but the mansion walls. She'll be ready by morning. Ebony didn't hear it, but the house did. And deep down, she would be. Ebony woke to a kind of silence she hadn't heard in years. Not the heavy silence of resentment, not the tense silence of a man avoiding her, not the cold silence of a door slamming shut. This silence felt deliberate. Safe. Like a breath held on purpose. For a moment, she forgot where she was. Then everything returned in one violent, crushing wave.
Dante.
The shove. The snow.
The door.
The deadbolt. Her chest tightened, and she sat up quickly, gripping the sheets. When her fingers brushed the side of her neck, the skin still throbbed where his hands had dug in. A soft knock. Then, without waiting for permission, the door opened. Octavia stepped inside wearing a charcoal gray suit that somehow made the morning light look timid. Her posture was razor straight, her gloves matched, her silver hair pinned back like someone preparing for a negotiation she intended to win. "You're awake," she observed. Ebony nodded, her voice stuck in her chest. Octavia studied her for a long beat. Then she said something Ebony didn't expect, something cold, sharp, and impossible to misinterpret. "Your body is safe now, but the rest of your life is still in danger." A chill ran through Ebony that had nothing to do with the weather. Octavia placed clothes on the foot of the bed, warmer, softer, more expensive than anything Ebony owned.
"Get dressed."
"Breakfast is ready." She left without waiting for a reply. Ebony stared at the door. Something inside her tightened. Not fear. Something deeper. She didn't recognize the feeling at first, until she realized her hands were clenched into fists beneath the blanket. She exhaled in surprise. She hadn't realized she was angry. Not trembling. Not helpless. Angry. It flickered across her chest like a spark catching wind. She dressed quickly and followed the scent of cinnamon down the hallway. The dining room was enormous. Marble floors, golden light, tall windows spilling in soft morning sun. A young man in a dark uniform poured coffee from a silver carafe. "Good morning, Miss Carter," he said politely. Ebony almost corrected him. Instead, she whispered, "Thank you." Octavia entered as Ebony sat down. She didn't waste a second.
"Eat."
Ebony obeyed, taking a piece of warm bread as Octavia sipped her coffee. "Your husband attempted to call you 6 times between midnight and 3, Octavia said. Ebony froze. He called. "He is blocked from reaching this house," Octavia replied. But persistent men often mistake persistence for power. She slid a phone across the table. "Listen." Ebony pressed play. Dante's voice exploded into the room. "Ebony, where the hell are you? Pick up the phone. Stop playing with me. If you're out here embarrassing me..." The message cut off. Ebony's breath shuddered. Another voicemail began. "Baby, listen. I'm sorry, okay? I was stressed. Work's been crazy. Just come home and we can talk." Ebony closed her eyes. Octavia's voice broke the moment cleanly. "Don't confuse performance with remorse. This is not guilt. It's control." Ebony opened her eyes, tears pooling but not falling. "I don't know who he is anymore," she whispered. Octavia finally set her cup down. "You know exactly who he is. Last night, he simply ran out of excuses." The words hit harder than Ebony expected. Octavia stood. "Come with me. We're not done." Ebony followed her through a long hallway lined with photographs of powerful people shaking Octavia's hand. Leaders, CEOs, politicians. They entered a large office, dark wood, steel fixtures, a marble desk, and the leather file from last night waiting like a threat. Octavia opened it. "Do you know why Dante chose you?" she asked. Ebony shook her head. "He didn't choose you for who you were," Octavia said. "He chose you for who he could pretend to be next to you." Ebony swallowed hard. "He said he loved that I was ambitious." Octavia didn't even blink. "He hated it. Envy is the quietest form of hatred." She slid forward a page of emails. Ebony leaned in. Her own name. Her work history. Her salary. Her credentials. Next to them, Dante's comments. "She outshines me. She makes me look weak. She needs to stay home. I have to get control over her." Ebony's breath cracked. She turned away, pressing a hand to her mouth. "He wrote this," she whispered. Octavia's voice was cool steel. "He planned you, Ebony. He didn't love you, he managed you." Ebony's eyes burned. She shook her head. I don't know how to face this. I don't know how to move forward." Octavia watched her for a long, silent moment. Then she spoke, voice low. "You were never weak. You were misled." Ebony looked up sharply, and Octavia continued, delivering the line that cut through Ebony's fog like lightning. "Broken women don't scare me. Women who realize they were never broken? They terrify men like Dante." Ebony inhaled sharply, the words hitting her in the center of her chest. Before she could speak, a buzzing sound sliced through the silence. A security monitor lit up. Outside the front gate stood Dante's black SUV. Ebony's heart stopped. Dante stormed toward the gate, shouting, shaking the steel bars. He looked wild, uncontrolled. The mask was gone. What is he doing here? Ebony whispered. He's guessing, Octavia said calmly. He doesn't know, and he certainly cannot get in. The camera showed Dante kicking the gate, veins bulging in his neck, face twisted in rage. Ebony watched frozen, but not with fear. For the first time in years, she saw him clearly. Not the man she married. Not the man she tried to love. A man throwing a tantrum at a gate he couldn't control. Octavia turned to her. What do you feel when you look at him? Ebony felt her chest rise and fall, slowly, deliberately. Small, she whispered. He looks small. A slow smile touched Octavia's lips. Not warm, not cruel, knowing.
Good, she said.
Then you're ready for step 2. Ebony turned toward her. What is step 2? Octavia switched off the monitor, letting the screen fade to black. Taking back everything he stole from you, she said, piece by piece. Ebony swallowed hard. And after that? Octavia looked her dead in the eyes. After that, she said softly, we take him down. Ebony didn't shiver. She didn't break. She didn't crumble. Instead, something inside her, something quiet, hidden, starved for years, finally rose. A spark. The beginning of a woman reclaiming her power. Ebony didn't leave the office right away. She stood there, staring at the blank security screen, watching her faint reflection in the dark glass. Her eyes looked different. Clearer. Harder. Like something inside her had shifted during the night. Dante's rage at the gate had unlocked something she didn't know she still had. Octavia watched her quietly, one hand resting on the desk, the other tucked behind her back with practiced composure. You saw it, Octavia said. Ebony nodded slowly. He's not the man I thought he was. No, Octavia replied. He was the lie you were taught to accept. A breath left Ebony's lungs, shaky, but cleansing. I'm ready, she whispered. Octavia stepped closer. Good. Then we begin. Ebony turned toward her, voice steadying. What happens now? Octavia didn't answer immediately. She walked to the corner drawer, removed a sleek black box, and placed it on the desk between them. This, she said. Ebony ran her fingers over the lid. What is it? A phone, Octavia answered. Untraceable.
Clean.
A new line for the new truth. Ebony hesitated before lifting the box. What should I do with it? She asked. Octavia's eyes sharpened. Call the one person he made you abandon. Ebony's throat tightened. My sister. Yes, Octavia said. She saw him before you did. That's why he pushed her away. Men like Dante isolate the women who can see through them. Ebony felt guilt swell inside her. She won't pick up. She will, Octavia replied, tone colder now. Because sisters recognize danger before we do. Ebony swallowed hard. What comes after that? She whispered. Reclaiming your identity, Octavia replied simply. Piece by piece. Ebony stared at the phone. It was just a device, but it felt like a door. Octavia slid another folder forward. And then we meet someone. Ebony stiffened. Who? The woman Dante deceived, Octavia said. Kiera Summers. Ebony's stomach twisted. Why meet her? Because lying men control the narrative, Octavia said. So we take that power from him first. Ebony closed her eyes for a moment. She doesn't know he's married? No, Octavia said. He told her you were unstable, controlling, jealous. Ebony felt something sour rise in her chest. Not pain this time, but anger. Octavia watched her closely. You are not afraid of him anymore. Ebony looked up sharply. She hadn't said anything. She hadn't moved. But Octavia was right. I'm not, Ebony whispered. Not anymore. That was the first step. Octavia opened the new folder. There's something else you need to see, she said. Inside was a screenshot, a system alert from early that morning. Ebony leaned closer. Her email. Her login. Unauthorized access attempt. Her breath hitched. He tried to get into my account, she whispered. Twice, Octavia said. 6:30. And again at 7. Ebony swallowed hard. Why? Octavia didn't soften her tone. He didn't try to find you. He tried to erase you. Ebony felt her heartbeat pulse in her throat. This was the shock. Not cheating. Not lying. Not rage at the gate. It was the knowledge that Dante was already trying to manipulate the future. He tried to get ahead of me, Ebony murmured. No, Octavia corrected. He tried to erase your version of the truth before you could speak it. Ebony's hands tightened into fists without her permission. I won't let him, she said. Octavia's eyes gleamed with approval.
You're learning, she said. Good.
Ebony took a deep breath, clearing the fog inside her mind. What now? She asked. Now, Octavia said, we confront Kiera. Before he realizes you're not hiding. Ebony hesitated. What if she hates me? Octavia tilted her head. Why would she? You didn't betray her. You didn't steal from her. You didn't lie to her. Ebony nodded slowly. And when you walked toward her, Octavia paused, letting the weight of her words land. You are not walking toward pain. You are walking toward truth. Ebony breathed out shakily. Okay, I'm ready. The words didn't tremble this time. Good, Octavia said. Then get your coat. We leave in 10 minutes. The winter air outside was sharp, but it didn't cut the way it had last night. Ebony's new coat hugged her tightly, and Marcus was waiting beside a sleek black sedan, opening the door with a respectful nod. Mrs. Holloway. Miss Carter. Ebony still wasn't used to the title, but she didn't shrink from it anymore. She slid into the back seat. Octavia followed, closing the door with a soft, expensive click of a car meant for decisions, not doubts. As they pulled away from the mansion, Ebony glanced in the side mirror. Dante's SUV was gone. Still, a pit twisted in her stomach. He might follow us. Octavia didn't look up from her phone. If he does, I'll know. Ebony stared at her. You sound certain. I am, Octavia said. Men like Dante move in cycles. You saw stage 1 last night, panic. Ebony listened closely. Today, Octavia continued, he will reach stage 2 rage. Ebony swallowed. And after that? Desperation, Octavia said. His most dangerous stage, but also his weakest. For the first time, Ebony didn't shrink at the idea. What do we do then? She asked. Octavia finally met her gaze. We make sure he reaches it, she said. Only when we are ready. Ebony nodded slowly, letting the words sink into her bones. The city blurred past the windows, frost on streetlights, snow on rooftops, pedestrians bundled tight against the cold. Then the car slowed, pulling into the lot of a boutique hotel overlooking the lake. Ebony's pulse quickened. She works here? Yes, Octavia said. And she will be here today. Ebony stared at the glass doors, heart thudding. Fear flickered inside her. But something else rose faster. Resolve. She whispered, mostly to herself. I'm not walking into pain. I'm walking into truth. Octavia heard her, and for the first time, allowed a small, approving smile. Marcus parked, turned off the engine. Whenever you're ready, he said gently. Ebony reached for the door handle. Her hand didn't shake. She stepped out into the cold, the wind tugging at her coat, but she didn't flinch. For the first time in a long time, she felt tall. She didn't feel small. She felt seen. Ebony hesitated on the sidewalk, staring at the hotel's glass doors. Her breath fogged in the winter air, but her chest burned with something far fiercer. Octavia stood beside her, calm, collected, unreadable. You don't have to fear her, she said quietly. You only have to fear your silence. Ebony nodded once. Let's go. She pulled the door open. Warm light washed over her as she stepped inside, the smell of fresh linen and polished wood filling her lungs. Soft music played in the background. A fireplace crackled near the lobby. Kiera was behind the front desk, stylish, smiling, younger than Ebony expected. Her outfit was elegant, her hair perfectly curled. She looked like someone who had her life together. Until her eyes met Ebony's. Her smile dropped instantly. "Hi, can I?" she froze. "Ebony." Ebony felt something tense around her ribs. She knew my name. He told her my name. Octavia's gloved hand rested on Ebony's back, not pushing, simply anchoring. Ebony stepped closer. "Yes," she said. "I'm Ebony Carter." Kiera whispered, "Oh my God." Ebony held her gaze. "We need to talk." Kiera swallowed hard. "Let me get someone to cover the desk." Her hands shook as she pressed a button and asked a coworker to step in. Then she motioned for them to follow. "There's a private lounge downstairs." They walked down a quiet staircase into a softly lit room. Kiera shut the door and leaned against it, breathing hard. "I didn't know," she said quickly. "I swear to God, Ebony, I didn't know he was married." Ebony stared at her, trying to read the truth in her eyes. "What did he tell you?" Ebony asked. Kiera blinked fast, overwhelmed. "He said you were separated, that you were unstable, that you were obsessed with him." Ebony's jaw tightened. "Obsessed?" Kiera nodded, tears threatening to fall. "He said you scared him, that he stayed out of guilt." Octavia inhaled once, sharp, amused, disgusted. Classic projection. Kiera moved toward a chair but couldn't sit. "I swear I didn't know. I'm not. I would never." Ebony cut her off gently. "Kiera, I'm not here to fight you." Kiera's breath hitched. For the first time, Ebony saw her not as a rival, but as another woman caught in the same trap. "How long?" Ebony asked quietly. "A year," Kiera whispered. Ebony closed her eyes, not in shock, but acknowledgement. A year of disappearing acts. A year of manipulation. A year of empty nights. Octavia stepped forward. "And his job? What did he tell you?" Kiera laughed hollowly. That he was basically running the place. That his boss was intimidated by him. Octavia's eyebrow lifted. "Is that so?" Kiera blinked. "Why?" "Because I am his boss," Octavia said. Kiera's face collapsed. "God, I'm an idiot." "You're not," Ebony said. "You were groomed." Kiera looked up at her, eyes filling. "No." "You were groomed. I was bait." The room went still. Ebony's breath softened in her chest. "He didn't love me." "I know," Kiera whispered. "But Ebony, he didn't love me either." Ebony didn't break. She didn't feel shattered. There was no pain left for Dante to take. Kiera swallowed. "You think I didn't notice? He only ran to me when he wanted to feel powerful, when he wanted attention, when he wanted to hide." Ebony stepped closer. "Hide from what?" Kiera hesitated. And then she said it. "There's someone else." The words hung in the air. Ebony's heartbeat slowed. They didn't stab. They clarified. Of course there was someone else. Men like Dante didn't cheat for love. They cheated for power. Ebony steadied her voice. "How do you know?" Kiera wiped her eyes. "He slipped twice. Called me the wrong name once. Kept disappearing for whole weekends. And when he got back, he'd shower immediately." Octavia narrowed her eyes. A pattern. Ebony swallowed. "Do you know anything about her?" Kiera nodded slowly. "Only one thing." Ebony waited. Kiera looked down, embarrassed. "He said she was special. Different. A secret worth keeping." A cold shiver crawled across Ebony's skin. A secret worth keeping. Not a relationship. A possession. Ebony whispered. "Where does he see her?" Kiera pointed toward the lake. "A condo. New building. 23rd floor. I never went inside, but he kept the key on a chain he only wore on weekends." Octavia's voice dropped. A second location. Likely tied to the shell company. Ebony felt a strange stillness inside her, not fear. Precision. Kiera watched her carefully. "Ebony." "I'm sorry." "I didn't want to believe it." Ebony nodded slightly. "Thank you for telling me." Kiera exhaled, shoulders sinking. He isn't who you think he is. Ebony looked her dead in the eyes. No, she said softly. He isn't who you think he is either. Kiera flinched, not at Ebony, but at the truth. Then she whispered the last thing Ebony expected. I'll help you. Ebony blinked.
Why?
Because he used me, Kiera said, voice trembling. And because you look like someone who deserves the truth. Octavia stepped forward, voice smooth and certain. If you help us, Dante will never touch your life again. Kiera nodded, wiping a tear. Tell me what you need. Ebony took a breath. Tell me everything.
Kiera did.
She told them about the patterns, the excuses, the lies, the weekends, the moods, the money talk, the threats, the little inconsistencies Ebony could now see in full color. Finally, Ebony lifted her hand. That's enough. Kiera stopped immediately. Ebony stood. Thank you. Kiera nodded, voice small. Be careful. He's not stable. Ebony didn't blink. Neither is the ground he's standing on. Octavia smiled, sharp, approving. As they walked toward the stairs, Kiera whispered behind them. Ebony, whatever you're about to do, don't do it alone. Ebony paused, looked back. I'm not alone. She turned and walked up the stairs, each step steadier than the last. At the top, Octavia leaned in. Well, she murmured, now the real game begins. Ebony's voice was calm, cold, certain.
No.
He started it. I'm finishing it. Ebony didn't speak for the entire ride across the city. She sat in the back seat, staring out the window as snow drifted past the glass. The streets blurred into streaks of white and gray. Her mind wasn't restless anymore. It was focused, sharp, quiet, the kind of quiet that comes right before a storm. Octavia watched her from the other side of the car, her posture perfectly still. She said nothing because for the first time, Ebony didn't need direction. She only needed purpose. Marcus finally asked, should I circle the block or park around back? Octavia answered, back entrance, less exposure. Ebony nodded. She didn't know the full plan yet, but she trusted the strategy. Not blindly, not fearfully, with clarity. The car pulled behind the tall, glass condo tower. It rose into the winter sky like a blade, all steel and sharp lines. As Marcus parked, Ebony felt a ripple of something deep in her chest, not fear. Recognition. This is where he hides, she whispered. This is where he lies, Octavia corrected. They stepped out of the car. The wind cut across Ebony's face, but she stood firm. Marcus escorted them inside through a private side entrance that required a code. He entered quickly. 23rd floor, he said. Cameras are disabled on that level. Ebony turned to Octavia. How did you? I own the building next to this one, Octavia said, which means I own access. Ebony didn't smile, but something inside her warmed with respect. They stepped into the elevator. The doors slid shut. As they ascended, floor numbers glowing softly overhead, Ebony's heartbeat matched the steady rise. When the doors opened on the 23rd floor, a hallway stretched out in front of them, glossy floors, quiet lighting, everything immaculate. Too immaculate. Too intentional. Too arranged for secrecy. Ebony's steps echoed lightly as she walked, Octavia and Marcus behind her. She stopped in front of the unit Kiera had pointed out. Unit 23B. A silver keypad lock glowed beside the door. The key Dante kept on weekends. The key he thought no one knew about. Ebony stared at it for a long moment, her breath fogging the cold hallway air. Marcus stepped forward. I can open it. Ebony lifted a hand.
No.
She reached out and pressed 3 numbers slowly, deliberately, the numbers Dante always used. Numbers he thought no one paid attention to. 1 to 9, 7. The year he was born. The code he used for everything. The lock clicked. Ebony closed her eyes for half a second. Of course. She pushed the door open. The condo was warm, dimly lit, smelling faintly of cologne and expensive candles. Ebony stepped inside, feeling the air shift around her. Octavia scanned the room immediately, her eyes sweeping, calculating. Marcus checked the corners, the kitchen, the hallway. But Ebony didn't need to search. She saw everything. The jacket on the back of the couch, not Dante's. The half-finished glass of red wine on the counter. The silk scarf tossed lazily over a chair. A woman's perfume lingering in the air, expensive, dark, unfamiliar. And there, on the coffee table, a photograph. Ebony stepped closer. Her stomach tightened. The woman in the picture was beautiful, effortlessly beautiful, with long dark braids and warm brown skin. She was smiling at the camera, leaning into Dante's side. Dante's hand rested on her waist, his head angled toward her like he belonged there. The caption on the Polaroid read, "For us." Ebony didn't blink. She didn't cry. She didn't tremble. She simply exhaled. "He built a life here," she said softly. "A full life." Octavia approached, heels tapping the floor like punctuation. "A stolen one." Ebony nodded. "That's what makes it easier." She placed the photo back down. Marcus returned from the hallway. No one home. Ebony scanned the room again. The neatness, the curated comfort, the sense of ownership Dante never gave to their shared space. "This is where he became the version of himself he couldn't be with me," Ebony whispered. "No," Octavia said. "This is where he rehearsed the version he pretended to be." Ebony turned to her. Octavia added, "A coward in costume." Ebony took a few more steps around the condo, her fingers brushing the back of the sofa, the edge of the kitchen island. "Does she know he's married?" Ebony asked quietly. "We'll find out," Octavia said. "But not today." Ebony nodded, then noticed something on the desk in the corner. A laptop, open, the screen still glowing. Ebony walked over and looked. Her breath caught. An email draft. Addressed to her sister. Subject line: "I need to talk about Ebony." Octavia's eyes narrowed. He contacted her. Ebony whispered, "This morning." Marcus approached. "Should I delete it?" Ebony shook her head.
No.
"I want to see it." She clicked the email. The message was short, frantic, agitated. "She's unstable again. I think she might have gone somewhere dangerous. If she calls you, don't let her come stay. I'm getting help for her. Please don't make this worse." Ebony stared at it for a long, heavy moment. "He wanted to isolate me," she whispered. Again. Octavia placed a hand on her shoulder, not gently, not coldly, just firmly. "Not this time." Ebony let out a breath she felt like she'd been holding for months. Then she noticed something else. A second tab open. She clicked it. A lease. For the condo. Signed with a forged name. But the emergency contact listed? Dante Carter. Ebony's pulse steadied. He made himself her safety net. Octavia's expression turned razor-sharp.
No.
He made himself her trap. Ebony turned away from the laptop, a final layer of fog lifting from her mind. "This wasn't about love," she said. "Or desire. Or even attention." Octavia nodded. "Correct." Ebony exhaled. He wanted control. Yes. And he wanted options. Yes. And he wanted to feel bigger. Octavia's voice lowered. And he wanted to make you feel small. Ebony's jaw tightened. He failed at that too. Before Octavia could respond, Marcus appeared suddenly in the doorway, voice tense. "Someone's coming up." Ebony froze. Octavia didn't. She stepped toward Ebony, lowering her voice to a deadly calm. "This is not your moment to fear. This is your moment to witness." Footsteps approached, steady, heavy, familiar.
Dante.
The handle turned. The door opened. And when he stepped inside, Ebony saw him fully, not as her husband, not as her anchor, but as the architect of her suffering. Her pulse jumped, then leveled. Dante brushed snow off his shoulders, muttering under his breath, until he looked up and saw her. "Ebony?" Shock broke across his face. Not anger, not rage, not dominance.
Fear.
He took one shaky step forward. We can fix this. Just let me explain. Don't do anything stupid. Octavia stepped in front of him like a wall of glass. Hello, Dante. He flinched. Mrs. Holloway, I can explain. No, Ebony said, stepping forward. You can't. Dante's eyes darted to her. What are you doing here? Octavia answered coldly. Watching your empire collapse. I don't have an empire, Dante snapped, the mask flickering. No, Ebony said quietly. Just lies, women, and borrowed power. Dante's mouth opened, panicked. Ebony, listen. I have, she said, for years. He tried again, reaching out slightly. Baby, You're done, Ebony said. Dante froze. What does that mean? He whispered. Ebony stepped closer, calm now, dangerous now. It means you don't choose the story anymore. Octavia's voice sliced clean through the room.
No.
This is where he loses everything. Dante's breath caught. A man suddenly realizing the ground is gone beneath his feet. Ebony walked past him. She didn't look back. She didn't tremble. She stepped into the hallway with Octavia behind her, Marcus guarding their exit. When the elevator doors closed around her, Ebony felt it. The end of who she was. The beginning of who she would be. She exhaled softly. It's over, she whispered. Octavia didn't soften. No, she said. It's turning. And the elevator carried them down. Not into fear, but into the next life Ebony was finally ready to claim. I create these stories with you, not just for you. So tell me in the comments which moment hit you the hardest. Your perspective really shapes the kind of stories I tell next. And if you're enjoying this one, a like and a subscribe lets me know you want more worlds like this.